on YouTube. Hello, I'm Arden Kaywin, and in today's episode of Pro Singer Success Collective, we are going to be talking about how to annihilate vocal fatigue. So you may experience vocal fatigue after a gig if you've done a 45-minute, hour-long set, or even you may experience fatigue after rehearsals or even in your own practice. And the things that I am specifically talking about that in my book, clock as fatigue, is if you're getting hoarse and scratchy, if your throat and your whole larynx mechanism feels kind of raw and scratchy, if you lose your voice, if it's hard to phonate and the sound gets airy after you've sung for a certain amount of time, whatever that is, half hour, after a big show or whatever, that's vocal fatigue, and it needs to be taken very seriously because vocal fatigue is the leading cause of vocal injury. Vocal injuries like nodes, like vocal hemorrhage, like vocal paralysis. Vocal fatigue means that you are abusing your vocal cords, and it means that the technique you're using to produce the sound is not efficient, okay? So if vocal fatigue is something that you do experience, I want to give you some important information today as to one of the leading contributors to vocal fatigue, okay? Now, you may have heard me talk about vocal fatigue before from the perspective of breath support, because improper breath support is one of the leading causes of vocal fatigue. However, there is another leading factor and cause of vocal fatigue in addition to breath support. And that is when singers, how do I want to put it? Too many of you sit down on your voice. You put too much pressure on your larynx, and the sound and the resonance is not placed in the right place in your resonating chamber, in the buccal cavity. And you can affect a lot of how that placement happens and the amount of pressure or the amount of buoyancy that you have, depending on what you do with your tongue, your jaw, your soft palate, the muscles around your throat, your SCMs, your scalenes, your all of these muscles around here. And so when you are sitting down on your voice, what that is taking muscles of your tongue, perhaps, muscles of the sides of your neck, perhaps, soft palate, and actually weighting down and bearing down and putting pressure on your larynx to create a certain kind of sound that probably sounds great to you inside your head. It probably sounds very powerful and rich and round and clean and clear to you inside your head, which is why you do it. Because if you were not doing that, the sound would sound different inside your head and maybe not be exactly what you want or what you like. So you use all of these parts of your physiology, your tongue, sometimes your jaw, soft palate, muscles around your neck, to squeeze and put pressure around your larynx to create a certain physiological form of the larynx. It changes the structure and puts pressure on your cords that then changes the sound. There's two problems with this. The first problem is what you hear inside your head is not what we hear out there in the audience. You've probably heard yourself on a voicemail or something, and you're like, is that me, right? How we sound in our head is not how we sound out here in the world, okay? So number one, you're putting a ton of pressure and completely over controlling and forcing and manipulating the mechanism of your larynx to get a sound that sounds great in your head, but doesn't actually sound so good out here to the rest of us. It can sound pressed, constricted, squeezed, forced, can sound any number of ways that you don't actually want, but you're not actually hearing because in your head it sounds different. The second reason that this is dangerous is also because with all of that pressure, then your cords are held together and forced together and rubbed together in ways that then create vocal injury, as I was talking about. So nodes are, you've probably heard of nodes. Nodes are little calluses that form on the inside of the vocal cord, like where they would come together. And so if you have a little callus, a little bump there, then the cords don't come together as seamlessly. Air comes through and it sounds raspy, it sounds fatigued, right? When you are experiencing vocal fatigue and you sound raspy and airy and vocally tired, it doesn't necessarily mean you have a node, but what you do have is a swollen area of one of those cords, so the cords do not come together as seamlessly. And all of that pressure from sitting down on your voice, putting that pressure on your larynx, not knowing how to place your sound and your resonance in the right place, to get it out of your throat, right? It creates that fatigue because it's too much pressure. You guys, your vocal cords are these very fine little like butterfly wings that just come together right at the very edges, and they're very easy to abuse, okay? So for a lot of singers, this pressure and this constriction and this sitting down in the resonating space, sitting down on the larynx, is actually often tied to breath support. They're kind of a negative feedback loop, because if your breath support is not dialed in and you're flooding and you're pushing way too much air out, the body doesn't like that because it's too much air. And the brain is like, oh no, I don't like that sound. It sounds airy, it's too much. So then you use all this mechanism here to sit down on the cords and constrict the space so that not all that air comes flooding through. But the problem is that now you're not actually on your breath support and you're in all of these habits up here to support the sound instead of where you should be supporting it, which is in your breath support. And so now you're in all these habits up here. And oftentimes what happens is once you fix the breath support, we got to go in and we got to redo all the habits of what's happening up here, because even when the breath support is fixed, bad habits die hard, as you guys know. So it can become like a feedback loop. But for others of you, you have dialed in breath support, but you're trying to place the sound in your physiology where the sound is in your range. So what I mean by that is, many of you, if a note is lower in your range, you sit down on it, you put it low in your physiology, and you put pressure on the larynx to force that note down in your physiology, when pitch doesn't exist in physical space. The low note is not down here. The high note is not up here. It does the same rules don't apply to pitch that apply to us in physical space, right? So we forget that. And so to sing low and move down the scale, a lot of singers put a lot of added pressure and to move the note literally down in their physiology. And then now all the resonance space that should be free and open up here doesn't exist. Everything is pushing down and it's too much pressure on the cords, and it will tire you out. It will create raspiness, scratchiness, vocal fatigue in those ways. So what I mean by that, I'm going to kind of do a little example here. If I'm going to descend from head voice down to chest voice and go down into the lower part of my chest voice, if I sit down and do the thing we don't want to do as I descend, it could kind of sound like this. And I'm going to exaggerate it so you can hear it. But if I go, you hear all that pressure, right? Like, and so many of you sing there and you don't realize it. And you have so much pressure, and where you put your chest voice is so far back and so far down in your resonating space that then when you need to transition and move higher and move to head voice, this is what happens. I can make my voice crack too if where I'm resonating and placing my sound and my vowels and my resonance in chest voice is in the wrong place. Then when I move to head voice, it's too much pressure. And so I have to let go of that and let the resonance shape move into a different place in order to access head voice. And now I'm getting the yodel and the flippy floppy thing because I was sitting down and putting pressure in the chest, and you can't get to head voice with all that pressure. And in letting it go, you get the yodel flippy flop. We're going to be talking about all of this on Thursday and Friday this week. Some of you may already be coming, but I'm doing a little mini masterclass series. It's free, 2 days, Thursday and Friday this week, 18th and 19th, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do 90 minutes, all about how to reset your resonance so that you get a smooth transition from chest to head. You're not experiencing vocal fatigue because you know exactly how and where to place your resonance for chest voice, for head voice. You're not creating all of that tension and strain and pressure because you know how to sing out of your throat instead of in your throat. Vocal fatigue, you guys, if we're just going to put it in layman's terms, if you sing in your throat, you're going to get tired. If you know how to place the sound somewhere else, which is what we're going to be talking about more on Thursday and Friday, then you're not fatigued. And things like mixing become easy. Things like extending your range, getting into the super high parts of your range become easy. High chest voice, otherwise known as belting, becomes easy. Moving completely seamlessly through your registers, like one voice from top to bottom, becomes easy. Like you guys probably have either yourself experienced it or seen other singers where it sounds like two completely different voices, where you've got, a chest voice sound and then a head voice sound, and like there's no seamlessness going from one to the other. It sounds like two completely different sounds. And that's, not great, because you don't want to sound like one singer in head voice and one singer in chest voice, because what happens if you need to move registers? It sounds strange, right? So all of these things is what we're going to be talking about in the resonance reset on Thursday. If you are not registered and you're like, wait, what is this? I want to know about it. I am going to put into the comments right now, if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, the link to register for the reset training is in the description of the video copy that you can already click into. If you're watching on Facebook, I'm putting the link to register in the comments right now. There you go. And it's for you guys. It's free because so many of you deal with so many issues in your singing because there are gaps in your training. And I'm just going to say it, unfortunately, anyone can call themselves an expert vocal coach. There's no certification or anything like that. And unfortunately, there's just a lot of really bad information out there. And so I want you guys to understand that there is a different way to train. There are different tools that help you to understand things in a much more systematic way so that you can make progress in a much quicker amount of time when you know these things. But the problem is you don't know what you don't know. So you don't realize that you've been the victim of, unfortunately, bad training until you understand how easy, I don't want to say easy, how simple it can be. It is simple. It's not always easy because you need to embody it and learn it and feel the muscle memory and train it in. But the concepts to get you jump started to do that are very straightforward. And that's what we're going to be doing on Thursday. So I hope to see you guys there. Use the link. Again, it's in the description video copy on YouTube and in the comments on Facebook. And I will see you guys there. We're going to just jump in and it will just give you a lot more peace of mind to understand what's been going on with your singing so that you can fix these issues and go out there and land these higher level opportunities that you really want. So I will see you guys on Thursday. Bye, everybody.